Hi, I'm Dave, founder of Halloween Year Round, and today I'm talking about The Exorcism of Emily Rose. That's right, a movie that, feel old yet, is now 20 years old. I remember seeing this in the theaters when I was in high school. It's now been 20 years, and it's a movie that's always stuck with me. I'm a huge fan of exorcism and possession movies. I feel like you can never top the original Exorcist. In the 50 plus years since its release, I get to see a film that does top the original Exorcist. However, I have seen one movie come close, and that is The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
For the glory of God.
Very loosely, and I mean very loosely, based on the real life exorcism and tragic death of Anneliese Michel in West Germany in 1976. The Exorcism of Emily Rose kind of follows a courtroom drama style where we begin the movie where Emily has tragically died, and the movie is the proceeding, the courtroom battle where the priest, the Father Moore, who performed the exorcism, played by Tom Wilkinson, defended by Laura Linney, is defending himself in court for negligent murder charges. We see through their testimony her story and her exorcism in flashback. And that's one of the reasons why I think this movie works. Because, one, it takes the subject matter seriously. And two, it allows, by starting off with the tragic ending, it doesn't need to toy with our sense of suspense. It doesn't need to have like cheap fake out scares. It doesn't need to tease us with, oh, is this gonna happen? Is this gonna happen? Because we already know going in exactly what did happen. We know how it ended. We know the tragedy, that befell Emily Rose. And we're just, as the trial is digging into it, we, the audience, are kind of peeling back and seeing everything that happened. I remember I met Jennifer Carpenter at a convention a couple years ago. She was there with the whole cast of Dexter, and I said to her, we got her to autograph our Dexter poster because we were getting the whole cast. And I said to her, as much as I, enjoyed your performance on Dexter, my favorite performance of yours is this movie, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. And you know what she said? She agreed with me. She said that she went into it, she intentionally did not watch the original Exorcist. She did not want to copy or mimic it in any way, but that this was her performance she was most proud of. Just the places she went to, the physical contortions she put her body into during these tense exorcism scenes. That there's been kind of, and if you're a fan of these movies, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's kind of an epidemic of what I call wind machine exorcisms in movies, where the windier it is, the more intense it is. Where it feels like when someone's doing an exorcism, it of course has to be accompanied by a natural disaster, by a freaking tornado, and the windows are being blown in, glasses everywhere. It's all very dramatic. It's all very over the top, and it all kind of starts to feel cheesy. The original Exorcist didn't have to go to those lengths because the subject matter itself in 1973 was frightening and scary enough to audiences that it could present it in a more subdued, uh, uh, you know, uh, I don't want to say subtle manner, but just more toned down, more down to earth. This movie, I think, stretches it just enough that it's not quite going for that cheesy, over the top wind machine exorcism that we see in so many movies since, but it's elevating it a little bit. And Jennifer Carpenter is doing so much in that scene so convincingly. And it, yes, we get like the creepy faces, we get the visions, we get all that, but it feels like it's just grounded enough. And again, the movie itself is not even really styled like a horror movie. Neither was The Exorcist. That felt more like a family drama that happened to be about possession, whereas this, it's almost an episode of Law and Order, where we see the trial and the different witnesses and the back and forth. And the whole time, obviously the movie is coming out and believing that this is all true. I think, you watch the exorcism scene, you hear, Emily's final sacrifice at the end via her diary, but despite that, it never feels like it's preaching. And that's something that I may do a full video on this about whether or not just the idea, like, is religious horror a form of propaganda, like, just by the very nature of it. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do that video. But this movie never feels like it's trying to shove that down the audience's throat. It's very much a movie about uh, the debate of it, and the philosophy of it. I love how philosophical this movie gets, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that its writers. It was co-written by director Scott Derrickson and Paul Harris Boardman. Derrickson being a person of faith, Boardman being a skeptic. And you feel that in the script, this like battle of ideologies and back and forth between, are these supernatural things real or are they not real? And whether or not they are real, what bearing does that have on the case? And all, it's a fascinating philosophical exploration that I don't think enough exorcism movies do.
Angels and demons, God and the devil. These things either exist or they do not exist. Do I really believe that this tragedy is the work of the devil? To be honest, I don't know. But I cannot deny that it's possible.
I feel like they go right for the scares, they go right for the wind machines, they go right for the, creepy looking demon with a guy in makeup going roar and jumping out at the audience. And while that's all well and good fun, look, I love the Conjuring movies. They're fun. They're not doing what Exorcism of Emily Rose is doing. They're not. It's that perfect balance that, yes, it's supernatural, but it's not getting so far that we're losing the reality of it. And like, it doesn't it doesn't just feel like a typical courtroom drama because it does have the supernatural elements to elevate it. It's the best of both, and I think it's incredibly effective. It's the only exorcism movie that, at least for me, felt like it captured. When William Friedkin made the first Exorcist, he said that it's not a horror movie. It's an exploration about the nature of good and evil. It's thought provoking, and it's meant to be thought provoking. Exorcism of Emily Rose is the only other exorcism movie I can think of that feels like it's doing that same thing, but very much different from The Exorcist. It's doing its own unique thing, and a lot of it is aided by just an array of amazing performances. Again, you've got Laura Linney as the defense attorney who is struggling herself with the nature of ethics and good and evil, and what it means to be an ethical lawyer defending, as she even says in the movie, I sometimes have to defend very bad men, and we see in the movie what one of them does after she defended him. Couple that with Tom Wilkinson as just the most humbling character I've ever seen. This came out literally only a few months after he played a mob boss in Batman Begins, and I love that he was such a talented actor. R.I.P. Loved him and everything. He was such a talented actor that he had just that massive range, even in two projects of his that came out mere months apart. Add Jennifer Carpenter into the mix to be one of the creepiest exorcies. Is that the term? The exorcist is the one who does it. The exorcee is the one being exorcised. I don't know. Look up the grammar on that. And you have a movie that is incredibly memorable, and that all these years later, as much as I'm a Dexter fan, when I'm meeting Jennifer Carpenter at a convention, I'm like, look, I there were a million things I could have. You only have a few minutes, and there were a million things I could have talked to her or asked her about having to do with Dexter. But I'm like, I gotta talk to you about Exorcism of Emily Rose. It's a masterpiece. I can now officially say it's a classic because it's 20 years old, and it is the only Exorcism movie that, at least for me, feels like it is almost on par with The Exorcist. But hey, these are just my thoughts. These are just my ramblings. This is just my channel. If you don't like it, get your own. I'm just kidding. Like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. If you don't, you may end up being tormented at 3 a.m., like what happened to Laura Linney's character in the movie and allegedly happened to them in real life when they were making the movie. Google that for more information. And as always, every day is Halloween.